Welcome to the True Demon Lord show. I am, of course, the True Demon Lord, Franco, and today we're going to be looking at Chaos Spaceman units and ranking them in terms of how they kind of fit into the Shadow Legion detachment. So, of course, Shadow Legion detachment is one of our two index attachments. It's our brand new shiny Chaos Demon detachment, which gives us access to most of the Chaos Spaceman inventory units. A few things we don't get, like Master of Executions or Obliterators, sadly, because I love Obliterators. I would love to have got them, but we didn't get Obliterators. But we've got pretty much every other infantry unit. Um, and so, yeah, we're going to talk about them, rank them in terms of how they kind of fit into the Shadow Legion, how they can kind of plug gaps that we may miss, filling certain archetypes, etc., etc. And so, of course, with this, with Shadow Legion, you can take up to 1,000 points of a 2,000 point list as these Chaos Space Marine units, and they can still Dark Pact, which is quite cool because I think without the Dark Pact, they'd lose, they'd be not so great. So still being able to get Dark Pact is really, really nice. And of course, they also all game Deep Strike, which is really strong, especially with various ways to get uppy downy as well, which is quite nice. So yeah, I mean, overall, we have a good selection of units that we can kind of mix in and make some really cool lists, some cool archetypes, and plug in some gaps that we may be missing, on the demon side. So before we get into the rest of the video, if you really like what we do here, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel out massively. And if you want to further support the channel because you really, really like what we do, then please consider becoming a true Denizen member here on YouTube, where you will get access to some extra content, a bit more tactical, in-depth analysis on stuff, and access to the member exclusive Discord and stuff like that. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the humble Chaos Lord on foot. So the standard Chaos Lord. And we put him in A tier because they are really solid. I think you always give him the Demon Hammer, which is like 5 attacks at, strength 8 -2, 2 damage, dev wounds. Once per game, the Foot Lord can go Super Saiyan, get +1 strength, AP, damage and attacks on, so you can go like 6 attacks, strength 9, -3, 3 damage, dev wounds. Makes him pretty beastly. He really likes sitting inside of things like Legionnaires because they can give him, reroll wound rolls of 1 or all reroll wounds on an objective. And being able to put him with Chosen as well was also pretty decent because, Chosen just have a bunch of attacks, gives him access to advance and charge. So yeah, I mean, he's a super solid character, and then obviously, like all Chaos Lords, they have the ability where you can pick one Chaos Lord once per battle round, and when you use the stratagem on their unit, it costs you 1 less CP. So, being able to use the uppy downy strat for binding shadows, being able to pick him up and a unit of demons up and do it for free is really good. Also, Channel Wrath for Lance, pretty solid, especially on a Legionnaire unit because of the reroll wounds as well. So, yeah, pretty solid. Also, he likes, a few of the enhancements. The Leaping Shadows for Scout, pretty good on him and a unit of Chosen, being able to scout up 9 and advance and charge. But also putting on Faded Darkness, the bonk and dash, killing things and jumping in the air. Him and a unit of 10 Legionnaires can actually do a fair bit of work with that as well. So yeah, I mean he's pretty solid. I think he is probably the best character option, on the Chaos Space Marine side we have access to. And to be honest, outside of a couple of the bigger guys and maybe one the odd little one, he's probably one of the best character options we have access to in the Shadow Legion. So yeah, really, really solid choice. And next we have the Terminator Lord. I'm going to put him here just because he's not quite as good. You're only going to take him if you're taking Terminators, which I think Terminators are a solid choice for this detachment. He still obviously has again the reducer strat by 1 CP once per battle round. He doesn't have the Super Saiyan thing, but he does half incoming damage on himself. Makes him pretty tough, and he's a Terminator, 2 up armor, 4 up invuln, and a bunch of wounds. Less weapon options. Obviously, he can't get the Demon Hammer, but he can take a Power Fist or a Chain Fist or some Accursed Weapon, a Combi Bolt or a Combi Weapon, so he can get some like, anti-infantry stuff. I think if you want to take Terminators, this guy might not be a bad option to do it. Because again, you could give him Leaping Shadows for scouting Terminators. Or if you want to go Fade the Darkness on your Terminators, you can. Being able to up and down his unit for free every battle round, pretty nice. So yeah, I mean, not a bad option if you want to take Terminators. I think he's actually really solid. Otherwise, I think the Footlord is just better. Next, we have the Jump Lord, and I'm gonna put him here just because I don't think you're gonna use him that much. He can only attach to Raptors, and Raptors are okay. Um, Again, he has the free strat thing, and his other ability. Forgive me, my Chaos Space Marine knowledge is far inferior to my demon knowledge. We know I know my demons inside out. My Chaos Space Marine stuff I know mostly, but his other ability is his unit compiling and consolidate up to 6 inches. Actually, not that bad. Um, yeah, it's actually not too bad. Weapon wise, does he have access? I don't think he has access to a hammer, right? He can get double lightning claws, which is pretty decent, or curse weapons, or power fist. Plasma pistol, bolt pistol. So he's got okay weapon options. If you get attached to warp talons, then I think there'd be an argument for him because I actually think warp talons are pretty decent. Raptors are okay. They give you some access to some shooty weapon, like some double melter or double plasma. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't think you're going to see him just because you've got, the options here of the other two. I just think he's not on the comparison to them because the unit he's attached to is just not going to be like Raptors compared to Terminators. I think you'd rather have Terminators. And of course, comparing that to Legionnaires or Chosen, I think those two units are very solid units that you're going to see a lot of in Shadow Legion. So I'm going to put him in C mostly because you're not going to see him run much with the unit he attaches to, but if you could attach to Warp Talons, I would say that would definitely raise his stock up a fair bit. Next, we have a sorcerer. I think I'm going to put sorcerer there. He makes his unit -1 to hit. It's pretty solid, and then has like a mortal wound thing where I think the unit has to a unit after he shot a unit with psychic attacks, or it might even be in combat with a psychic weapon as well. They take a leadership test. If they fail the leadership test, they take these 3 mortal wounds. So it's okay. It's all right. It's not bad. -1 to hit is quite solid. But again, I just think if you're going to take certain units he can attach to, you're probably better off taking a Lord, if not running the unit on its own. But he's an option, I guess. He's not awful. He's not amazing. He's not awful. He's quite middle of the road. Next, we have the Terminator Sorcerer. I just want to get his profile up quickly just to make sure I don't get it wrong. Um, so he has a slightly different version, with the mortal woundy thing. So he, at the start of your shooting phase, one psycho with this ability can use it. If it does, you select one enemy unit within 12 inches of invisible to that psycho. Roll 1d6. On a 1, his unit takes a mortal wound. On a 2+, then until the start of your next movement phase, each time an enemy unit each time an attack targets the enemy unit, improve the AP characteristic of that weapon by 1. That's actually better than I thought it was. That's actually pretty solid. So you just pick a unit and fall basically a battle round. Anything that targets that unit is -1 AP. That helps demons out as well. So you can get pretty good. Like if you go in to something with bloodletters and then you prop Channel Wrath for Lance and then +1 AP because you're Corn, now your bloodletters are AP -4 if you have that stacked on it as well. So yeah, that's not awful. And then his unit can reroll advance and charge rolls. Of course, being a Terminator sorcerer, he can fit into Terminators. I'm going to put him B. We will readjust at the end, but I think top of B for now is fine because I don't know how much you're going to take him. But at the same time as well, the other nice thing is you can just lob him in a unit of Terminators, drop. That unit of Terminators just lets rip with loads of bolters and stuff, and he's given him -1 AP. So yeah, I mean, it's actually not awful, to be fair. It's not too bad. And in combat, he's just a sorcerer, right? He's got a force weapon, which is okay, and he's got some okay shooting, like psychic shooting as well. Um, but yeah, that's a nice little um trick, combining Defx with, your other demon units for the -1 AP. So it's pretty good. Unfortunately, you can't take multiple of them and stack them because only one character with the ability can use it per battle round, sadly. But yeah, it's not bad. Next, we have the Master of Possession. Oh, he's interesting because I don't think he's actually that great, but it's just what he can do. So I'm gonna put him there because if you're taking Possess, and I think 10 Possessed are actually pretty good, having run them, they're really solid. If you want to have, Leaping Shadows to give them a 9-inch scout, then you need to take this guy because he's the only guy that can attach to them. I wish sorcerers or lords could attach because then I would just take a lord. But you have to take this guy. He doesn't offer you a lot. He gives you plus is it +1 advance and charge for the possessed, but they're not an advance and charging unit, which is annoying. If they had both, then I'd be like, okay, that's interesting. But they don't advance and charge, but he gives them +1 advance and charge. Um, and then he does some like mortal woundy stuff as well. He's got some like precision-y attacks, and I think his combat is precision as well. So if you can pick out little characters with him, which isn't awful. But I think the only reason you're going to take him because the buff he gives to possessed isn't enough to take him without basically taking him just as an enhancement caddy. Like you're just going to give him Leaping Shadows, maybe Fade to Darkness if you want to make the 10 possessed the big killy and jump away unit, but there are better options. So, but he's not bad. He's okay. Next we have the Dark Apostle. Now I'm putting this guy in A tier because he's solid. So he gives his unit +1 to wound. That combined with Legionnaires is really good because now they're +1 the wound, always, and obviously re-rolling, wounds of 1 or all wound rolls against enemy units on objectives. That's pretty solid. You can also blow up the little dudes that come with him, I think, and do mortal wounds, which is quite cool. But yeah, I think he's not a bad option. Like throwing him into like a block of Legionnaires, like 10 Legionnaires with him. Maybe even giving them Fade to Darkness if you want is an interesting one because that unit can move up, bunch of OC if you need it. Reroll wound rolls 1, all wound rolls against units on objectives, basically using them to just tank things on objectives and run away. Plus on the wound built in, it means if they get charged, they can fight their way out of combat as well. So you're not just relying on Channel Rough to get you Lance. And what is quite nice is you could have this unit, plus you could have a Lord inside of a unit of I don't know, Chosen or more Legionnaires. And then even a unit of Bloodletters with a Bloodmaster. So now the Bloodmaster's Bloodletter unit are +1 the wound. The Dark Apostles Legionnaire unit is +1 the wound. And then you can for free, because of the Lord's ability, you can use Channel Wrath for Lance on his unit for +1 the wound. So that's like 3 units running in with +1 the wound, bouncing things off the ball, quite frankly. It's pretty solid. It's a nice little, like, kind of aggressive push, kill quite tough things, quite easy type of, strategy. But yeah, I really like the Dark Apostle. I don't think he's got enough praise at the moment. I've seen a couple lists take him, but yeah, I think he's pretty solid. And he can make a unit quite punchy. Can he attach to? Not that you would really take him into a Cursed Cultist, because you're going to take a Dark Commune, but I think he can probably attach to Cultists, which you're not going to do. Let's be real. He can attach to a Cursed Cultist, Chosen, Cultist Mobs, Legionnaires, and Nemesis Claw. We don't get access to Nemesis Claw though, sadly. But yeah, I mean, if you want to put them in a unit of a Cursed Cultist, you can. But then you're not getting the buffs from the Dark Commune, which we're going to get to in literally a second, so I'm not going to say them yet. But I think this guy in a block of Legionnaires is pretty solid. He's not bad in a chosen squad either. So yeah, solid. Next we have the Dark Commune. I'm going to put them. So I don't know. I'm quite mixed on the ACDC units, but they're doing very well. There's a lot of lists doing pretty good with them, and they do help you give that archetype of just that very very heavy ball control, lock your opponent down type of list. With your advanced and charging pawn, these dudes, like multiple of these users, advanced and charging. Just remember when you attach a unit of Dark Commune to a unit of a Cursed Cultist, they do not. A Cursed Cultist Scout 6 you can't use it because the Dark Commune don't have Scout. So remember that. But you can then give these guys Leaping Shadow, so now their unit can just Scout 9, and that's pretty solid. And of course they give their Accursed Cultist unit a 5-up invuln, and they give them a once per game advance and charge and +1 to hit and wound in addition to that. Which is pretty good. You can have this unit kind of just run forward, advance and charging, landing into something, and just absolutely, smacking it over the head. I just need to check something, right? Yeah, because it gives them the once per game advance charge. I was just thinking in my head, wait, hold on, advance and charging? I just said that. Yeah, so yeah, once per game, we'll just run forward, +1 to hit, +1 to wound, just absolutely whomping on something, which is quite nice. And then as well as just a pile of wounds with the 5 up in one and the 6 up 4 pain are just going to be really annoying to deal with. So yeah, and the other cool thing is you can just keep the near Be'lakor when he's got his, um Reefed in Shades aura of don't shoot me outside of 18, so you can kind of keep that unit aggressively placed and not being too much of harm's way. Your opponent having to get close to do any kind of damage, and then you can just jump on them, which is pretty nice. So yeah, of course, solid. And as we have the Firebrand, I'm seeing people talk about this guy like he's an option. I don't know why. I guess people are going about leaping shadows, getting a unit of cultists up, doing sticky, turn one. I just don't think it's worth it. I think it's his unit can reroll leaderships. Okay, he does something else. I can't even remember what the other thing he does is. Let me get that up. He is the Firebrand. He obviously his unit can reroll leaderships, and then in your shooting phase after this model is shot, he forces an enemy unit to take a battle shot test. Yeah, I just don't see the point of him. Like the reason cultists are pretty good anyway, but good for us is they're 50 points. They're a really cheap 50-point unit that we could just take to sticky and just be a cheap screen unit. Why do you want to add 45 points to that? Like plus an enhancement if you do that. Like it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. Next we have the Enforcer. This guy comes with an Ogrin dude. Can't remember what he does. I think the Ogrin attached gives the characters in their unit 4+1 up pain, which is okay. And then he gives his unit, which he can only attach to Traitor guardsman. He gives his unit a free Overwatch. Even if a unit's already done it, and the unit he can attach to is the Traitor Guardsmen, which are just basically a special weapon squad, plasmas, melters, stuff like that. It's okay. I don't think it's anything too special. I don't really think you're going to take it, but if you want a unit, you can kind of just push out into the middle and then go to your opponent. Cool, I'm going to Overwatch for free when you come out. Okay, it's an option, I guess. It's okay, but it's not really that great. Next, we have Legionnaires. I am going to put these guys in S tier because Legionnaires are really solid. So they're just a Marine, right? T4, 2 wounds, 3 up armor save. But I think the best way to kit these out is combat. You take 2 heavy melee weapons or power fists, um, and then you take a couple plasma pistols, you take an icon, and then you fill out the rest with just standard chainswords and stuff. And you just go to town. This is a unit that we kind of have yearned for a while, and it's a cheap enough high OC objective trading unit. So you throw it onto an objective, it kills most units that your opponent are going to throw onto objectives to trade on. Because they've got a bunch of attacks, they can go sustained or lethal, and they can reroll all wound rolls against enemy units on objectives. So it just makes them really solid at killing things or maiming things that are on objectives. And again, they've got 3 attacks per heavy melee weapon at strength 8 -2 damage, then 4 attacks per chainsword at strength 4 -1 damage. You can give them +1 to wound with lance. If you attach a lord in the unit, you can do it for free. The lord is also pretty solid, getting the reroll wounds from the unit as well. Again, the dark apostle giving them +1 to wounds. It's just a really solid unit. 5-mans are really good for objective trading, but if you want a 10-man brick, I think that is a very good option for Fade to Darkness if you're not doing something like a Bloodthirster. And then attaching a Lord or a Dark Apostle to it, just a very solid unit. And again, a bunch of OC, they're all to OC2. So they're very good as well for just denying points. So yeah, it's a really solid unit. Next we have Cultists. They're going S tier as well because they are just a unit we've yearned for so long. They're basically Plague Bearers, but nowhere near as tough, of course, for less than half the points. Plague Bearers, T5 2 wins fire up Rimvon. They're an amazing unit. They're sticky objective. You sticky, you push them forward when needed. These guys for 50 points, they sticky the backfield objective, they screen out, and then you can uppy down and mid to late game if you need to. Obviously, they're only T3 with like a t-shirt save, like a 6-up save. But they've got access to grenades, as I found out. I had a rampage, well, not so much a rampage in Demon Prince. I played against Plague Legion at an event. And my Demon Prince, he just tanked 4 up invons. Demon Prince survived on 3 wounds, fell back but towards my objective to basically then be like, cool, you're stuck. You can't touch me because your Daemon Prince is stuck in combat. Your Bloodlust is stuck in combat. Nothing else can get to me. So I was like, cool. Yeeted the pushed the cultist through the wall. I was like, they have grenades, and it was for me the first time I'd ever used grenades because I only play demons, right? And I was just like, I'm gonna throw a grenade, kill the demon prince, and I was like, oh my god! And I was like, getting the feeling that everyone else gets when they throw grenades at my monsters, so that was awesome. Yeah, so for 50 points, they're just an absolute steal of a unit. Even when I'm trying to write just mono demon list for Shadow Legion and not include any CSM. I always find myself putting 10 of these guys in because for 50 points, I just don't see how you can't take them. For 50 points, they're just an absolute steal of a unit. They're amazing. Next, we have the Accursed Cultists. We're going to put them in A tier, just only really because the aggro type of list you can build with them. And you're going to take them in a big block. You're going to take 6 of the big ones. I can't remember their name. Torments, I think, and then 10 of the mutant dudes. And then the mutant dudes are just throwing a bunch of strength 4 attacks, and then the big guys, is it D6 plus 2 to attacks each, to strength 5 minus 1 2 damage, plus 1 to hit and wound once per game with Dark Commune inside of it, and then obviously advancing and charging. These guys like Lance as well, they're pretty good, and then just a crap ton of wounds with a 6-up for an opinion built, and then the Dark Commune gives them a 5-up invuln. They scout 6 standard, but if you have a Dark Commune in it, they can't scout. But then if you put Leaping Shadows on the Dark Commune, they can scout 9. Yeah, it just makes it a really aggro unit. Just being able to plant this into your opponent turn 1 and go, cool, deal with that. And then if you've got like Seekers, throwing the Seekers up as well, pretty solid. And then Bloodletters, if you're taking Bloodletters, advancing charging them, or Flesh Hands advancing charging them, and kind of just locking your opponent into their like deployment zone early, scoring points, and then your opponent just has to try and fight out of it. And that also then gives you some breathing room to now move the next unit of ACDC forward, because that one probably wouldn't have had scout. Getting, other units like Legionnaires, Chosen, Blood Crushers, Plague Bearers, Pink Horrors into position, so you can now, project more threats afterwards. So it's a solid unit to have, that fits into a very unique kind of archetype that we can kind of build with Shadow Legion, which is quite cool. But yeah, really solid. Next we have the Traitor Guardsman. These are the guys that the Enforcer attaches to. They've just got a bunch of, special weapons, and then I think when they're on an objective, they get the benefits of cover. Yeah, like you just take always. Like you don't really care. They don't do enough. They don't offer you enough. Yeah, they're okay. They're a fun unit. If you want to take them because they're cool, you can. But I just don't think you need them. And next we have Chosen. Oh, chosen. I think I'm gonna put them there. I don't think they're quite S tier, but they're still decent. For 125 points, 3 wounds apiece, 3 up armors, and then they've all got curse weapons, so they're like, what is it, 4 attacks, strength 5, minus 2, 1 damage. One guy can get paired weapons, so he's got twin linked and an extra attack, I believe. A guy can take a power fist. You can take plasma pistols in there, combi weapons for anti-infantry, dev wound stuff. Um, and it's advancing charge naturally. So again, another list I kind of eyed up was, a bunch of bloodletters and a bunch of these dudes, and just having like real advanced charge threat, taking a curse cultist as well. And yeah, the idea is you're just projecting, decent solid combat threats essentially from anywhere. Like you stage up in good terrain and then go, cool, come out to these points of the board, I'm going to get to you. um and they're a solid unit. Attach a lord to it, like that lord puts out a fair bit of combat damage, and again, giving them like freelance is pretty nice. um Even attaching, like, again, a dark apostle for plus on the wound, like base standard, is really solid. um yeah, I like the Chosen a lot. I really like the idea of a 10-man unit. Um, I think the thing is, a lot of people, because we can't take rhinos, and a lot of people like having the rhinos, push them up and then just project them out the rhino with that extra like jump out of 3 thing before they even move in advance. But yeah, I think they're a really solid unit for us to take as well. Next, we have Possessed, another unit I really like, um, because they're just so annoying. Like T6, 3 wounds, 3 up armor, 5 up invuln. And I don't know if you take them in 5 mans, but in 10 mans, they kind of give you that really heavy like attack brick that we don't kind of have. 4 attacks each, strength 5, -1, 2 damage. Once per game, when they dart pack, they can do dev wounds. I kind of wish they just had, whenever they dart pack, they just did dev wounds, just standard, rather than it just be once per game, but it's still really good. And again, dart pack just ups the value of all of these units anyway. Um, I've had this like when I was running this unit, this was essentially my attack dog unit. Like I need to go kill that one unit. I killed like killing Be'lakor with it, killing a oh god, a Rogel Dawn against the Plague Legion. I kind of yeeted them in, like yeeted off a character like the 10, what they called, Plague Bearers with the Canker Blight, Bile Piper, and then just being an absolute pain to remove. Because again, it's a brick of a unit. It's 30 toughness, 6 wounds. I wasn't too keen. I didn't take them with the Master Possessions. I wasn't too keen on the idea of like shunting him in with Leaping Shadows, because the idea is I like to have them push up, playing on UKTC a lot, jumped up to that really nice staging bit of terrain that we have right towards the middle, and then just having a projected threat going, cool, I can kind of push his threat back onto my natural expansion, push it into their natural expansion, or being able to, just yeet it into the middle. Just really, really solid. I really like Possessed. I like the 10 bomb Possessed. Next, we have Warp Talons. Here's another unit I really like. They're just Marines with an invuln. T4, 2 wounds, 3 up armor, but 5 up invuln. They're another demon unit, so I have a soft spot for demon units. We all know this. They've got 4 attacks each, strength 5, -2, 1 damage, twin linked. And then they've got, the mini bonk and dash. So after they kill something, or if they kill something in the fight phase and is not in the engagement range of any unit, they can just pick up. And this just makes some really nice, like, small unit killers, like going into scouts, going into Eldar units, stuff like that. Just going in, picking them up, and then running away. Just a nice unit to have. The only problem is with having this and Faded Darkness in the same detachment. The idea with it is you want to then rapid ingress and go forward again. Having 2 units that can do it kind of means you're not going to get to, like, they both go in, they both kill something, they both come off the board. Only one unit can rapid ingress, but still, that unit is a nice little thing to have for 125 points. I think it's a cool unit. I really like it. And it's just a unit you can use to just kind of clear chaff and then not be in, harm's way afterwards. Next we have Raptors. I'm not a big fan of Raptors, to be honest. They're 12-inch moving Marines. They have no invuln. And you can give them 2 special weapons, like 2 melters or something, so you can use them as a drop down, do some damage, and then die. They have a 6 inch draw of -1 to battle shot test, and then when they're in engagement range of stuff, when they charge, I think, or in the fight phase, they force battle shock test. So that's okay, I guess, if you want to like just stop opponents from being able to interrupt or use really good strats, like defensive strats, attack strats, whatever. Being able to just throw these guys into units and just force the battle shocks is not bad. Um, Otherwise, I just don't think they're great. Like, I feel like a lot of people may use them as action units, but we just have better action units. Flamers, Fleshhounds, Beast and Nurgle, all for cheaper, and they're just better units, like, for their points. So they're okay. And next is an interesting one. Because this is naturally was always going to be one that drew people in, because people saw, as demons, we don't do shooting. We have some shooting units, Lords of Change, Skull Cannons, Soul Grinders. Um, but dedicated shooting units isn't really our thing. So or with that really high damage. So when people saw we have access to Havocs, of course, the first thing people did was go and buy loads of Havocs or put loads of Havocs in their lists. Um, and they do give us something that we do, notoriously struggle with, and that's a way to crack open transports at distance before we charge in. And for that role, they're pretty decent. But having like tested them, rolled out a lot, I find that, the way you want to run them is probably las cannons anyway, But I find that with those last cannons, they don't always prick open rhinos and stuff like because they hit on threes, right? They ignore modifiers to hit and weapons and ballistic skill, which is nice. But the idea is you kind of want them sitting in Bellicle's don't shoot me range. So if you've got the reroll ones range on, which is kind of what they want, then they're now at threat of being, killed. But they're still a decent unit. I think you do just arm them with 4 las cannons. There is an argument for a chain cannon unit. That just drops down in like, for things like orcs and GSE and stuff like that. It's a cool tech piece. That being said, it is super strong. Sitting this unit within 6 of Be'lakor, only being able to be shot within 18, while throwing shots out of 48 inches. That is really strong. It is really, really strong. So they are a solid unit. Me personally would put them there because I'm just not that keen on it. I think they're just overhyped because they're a shooting unit. But I think like a lot of people would kick off doing that and probably want me to put them here. So I will give you a happy medium and I will put them here. I don't know. We'll put them there because I think because they cannot be shot, because they can benefit from Be'lakor's auras and not be shot outside of 18 while still pinging shots at 48 or whatever. To me, that kind of is what makes them useful because it's like I can just put these big shots out. They're screened out so they're safe, so I'm going to get multiple uses out of them. And because of that, I'm going to put them where they are. Because again, for 125 points or whatever they are, you want multiple uses out of these guys. So being able to, again, just sit them within Be'lakor range and then just be able to ping shots out helps, right? It's good. If they didn't benefit from, Be'lakor's auras, I would definitely not be giving them this much leniency with that. Because again, I think the problem is they expose themselves, they do something, they might not even kill something, they die. In this detachment, they actually can survive because of Be'lakor. And next we have the Felgor Ravagers, which is the Beastmen. They're a really interesting choice. I'm going to put them in probably B. I'm going to put them there because they're interesting. They're essentially T4 cultists, but they got an ability where they treat the battle round as being 1 higher when they come in from reserves, and they can come in on turn 1. Normally you wouldn't care because they just strategic reserve side of the board, but in this detachment, everything here gains deep strike, so now they can deep strike turn 1, which is not awful, right? It's not awful. Especially if you start them on the board and you go second, you pick them up, and then you can deep strike them back down turn 1. You can do that anyway, so actually ignore me. But if you're going second, if you're going first or if you're going second, you can bring them down turn 1 anyway. And that's pretty good. It's just a nice way to get a unit onto an objective that you might not be too close to. Maybe being able to move block out, which is quite nice. Yeah, I think they're like 85 points, so they're a little bit pricey because they're 35 points more than 10 cultists, but they're a cool, cute little tech piece. I'm not saying they're the best thing ever, but they might have a place in some type of list. And last we have Terminators. So Terminators are an interesting one. The more I look at them, the more I like them. So I think I'm going to put them here because, they have, you're going to take 3 Power Fists on them. You're probably going to take a Chain Fist on them. And then probably a first weapon, dude. And then probably a Reaper autocannon. And then 3 combi weapons. Because I just don't see the point of taking the combi bolters. Like, they're good, but I want some anti-infantry stuff. And, when they dart packed, they re-roll all hit rolls, which is solid. So obviously the combo weapons hit on 4s, but re-rolling is quite nice. You're going to probably have sustained on the unit. And then just using that with the dev wounds and anti-infantry 4+ is a good way to clear infantry units. And then having, 3 power fists plus a chain fist in there makes them pretty solid at, punching up a little bit. And the class weapons just they reroll wounds. Throwing lance on these guys is not awful either. So, and then 3 wounds at T5 and 2 up armor save with a 4-pin one. There's not many units we can get at already that kind of tough that can really take a punch like that because they can just, get them in cover. that unit now has to be hit with AP2 or better before they even touch a 3-up armor save. So they can be a real pain in the butt to deal with. And they hit fairly hard. So yeah, I like the Terminators. I think a Terminator and a Terminator Lord is not an awful option. Terminator with a Terminator Sorcerer is not awful either. I'm actually gonna. No, I was gonna think, do I put the Terminator Lord above the Sorcerer? But the Sorcerer's -1 to hit is not bad. I still think he's probably got a little bit more use. So we'll put him like that. So I think we're mostly happy with this. Um, of course, people are going to disagree with it. I know there's people that would put the ACDC in S tier. I just don't know. Maybe it's the demon side of me that just doesn't want to put them there, to be honest. I know some people won't agree with the possessed being there. I like the possessed. I think mostly this is a fairly decent tier list. But if there's anything you agree or disagree with, please let me know. Always interested in hearing all other people's opinions. And to be honest, people giving me their opinions on units and why they like them actually then gives me ideas because I'm like, that's true. I could probably try that out and I'll test it out. So yeah. So yeah, I think I'm mostly happy with that. I think that'll do. So thank you for tuning in. We will catch you all in the next one.